Today's story is about fast food, a fight, and a Bible study. How do they all fit together? Well, I'm about to tell you. The story actually isn't about me, it's about one of my good friends at the time who was fairly new to the church. He just started attending, and I went to primary school with this guy. We had been close all through high school, which was quite rare because I left my primary school very early, and staying close with people through high school from primary school was very hard. So he was probably my only friend that I stayed in contact with. And because of that, he started coming to church. He's not a Christian. And I thought, amazing. This is awesome. So after some time, he meets some of my friends, some of my mentors, and he really falls in love with the place. He starts to read his Bible, he starts to pray, and I'm just over the moon. And so he asks me if he can come to Bible study, which is where all of my mentors and some of my friends were going at the time. And I say, mate, of course you can. Come along. So Thursday nights it was, we did a Bible study at my friend's house. He was a mentor of mine, so he was about 8 or 9 years older than me. And there was probably about 5 or 6 of us that would attend this Bible study. And so one night, another one of my friends comes along. Let's say his name is Jared. So Jared comes along, and my other friend, let's call him Luke. Luke, he's a lot more quiet than usual. Luke is a real talker. Okay, so he can yap, and he's got quite the ego. So he loves to yap. He loves to talk about himself, and that's what we're used to. But tonight he was completely silent, and I was very confused. So at this point, he didn't have his driver's license, so I drove him home, and I asked him on the way home, "Dude, was everything okay? You were like totally quiet." And he was debating whether to tell me what was on his mind. And of course, I'm super curious, so I'm doing everything I can to try and rip it out of this guy. Eventually, he tells me, he says, "I think I've got history with Jared." And I say, "Okay, well, what? Like you've met him before?" And he says, "No, I've, I actually think I've been in a fight with him before." And I go, "What?" And so he tells me this story. He says he used to be friends with this other guy. Let's call him Zach. And him and Zach are in the drive-through of a Hungry Jack's in Australia. That's the Burger King equivalent, Hungry Jack's. So they're at Hungry Jack's, and they're in the drive-through. They're in the car, and they see these two guys in front of them who are not in a car, and they seem to be just trying to troll. They're just walking up to the drive-through window. They're trying to order something. They don't have a car. So these guys, my friend Luke and his friend Zach, they see these two delinquents. Like, what in the world are they doing? And they're at this point they're kind of troublemakers. So they say, you know what? Let's teach these idiots a lesson. So while they're ordering at the window, the two guys in front without a car, my mate and his mate jump out of the car and just rush these guys and start beating the crap out of them. So my mate pushes one of these dudes onto the ground, Luke. He pushes him and he starts hammering him, starts punching him in the head. And he's trying to dodge and he's trying to roll over. And he actually manages to push him over and he throws a couple punches of his own. This is the guy who had no car. Okay. And so these guys are having a smash. There's blood. This is in the drive-through, probably at midnight at some stage. So what happens after that? The two guys who didn't have a car, who were kind of trolling, they actually managed to run away. So they've kind of defended themselves. They've managed to fend them off. And the other dude who was there, he's quite a large large guy, the guy who was not in the car. So they're running away, and they go out, and then they call the cops. And my friend Luke and Zach, they hear that they're going to call the cops, and they bolt. So they leave the car, they run away, and they hide in some bushes. And they see these cop cars flying by looking for them. And they've just taken cover in the bushes, and they're out of trouble. He tells me, this guy, Jared, he was the guy that I was throwing punches at that night. I'm sure of it. And I said, there's no way. So the first thing I thought was, I wonder if Jared remembers this experience. I'm sure he does. But it seems like he didn't recognize Luke when he came to Bible study. So I'm thinking, I wonder what his experience of this is. I wonder what is going on here. And so for weeks he says, no, don't tell him, don't tell him. I don't want to start anything, I've changed. I'm a new person now, and I just want to leave it in the past. So we don't talk about it. Weeks and weeks and weeks go by. And eventually he comes to me and he says, dude, I can't do it anymore. Every time I see the guy, I think of it, and it's like a curse. It's like I just feel so guilty for what I did that day that I feel like I need to tell him and I need to apologize. So I said, well, dude, just do it. Like, Jared's a nice guy. He's a Christian. He has to forgive you. But this dude, Luke, he was stressing. He was stressing out to the max. And so we agreed, yep, next Bible study session, he's going to tell him. So he pulls up, and Luke says to Jared, he is fumbling over his words. This is at the very end of the study, and he doesn't know how to say it. And basically, he launches into this story, and you can start to see the glint of recognition in Jared's eyes. And he says, no way. He says, did you know the day that happened, I actually prayed with my mate who was there. We prayed that someday we would get the opportunity to meet these guys and forgive them. I kid you not. And he is like, waterworks. This is Jared. He is just bawling his eyes out. And Luke is kind of just gobsmacked, like, what in the world just happened? What do I do? How do I respond? And Jared is just like, dude, I forgive you. And then everyone in the room is just like, the waterworks are going. Everyone is just going mental. And the two dudes stand up and they give each other a hug. And I just remember thinking, how good is God to allow that interaction to have happened? That is the most incredible, ridiculous circumstance I could have ever dreamed of. And I somehow got to be a part of it. I was not involved, but you get what I mean. It's just craziness. So, bit of a shorter story, but I just wanted to share that because that is kind of some of the unbelievable stuff that God does. And I look back and I think, why did God allow that to happen? Why did he let my friend Jared get beat up like that? And now I can see Romans 8:28 coming in strong. All things work for the good of those who love him. Sometimes it just takes a little longer for us to realize that, So that's the story of the day. You probably got other stuff to do. You better get back to work, get back to study. Stop doom scrolling. Stop watching YouTube. You've had enough. Adios.